Hi guys, and welcome back to our tutorial series. In the last tutorial I showed you guys how to implement a simple gun management system into our rayshoot script, and in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to implement C4s into our rayshoot script. So let's get started. The first thing you want to do is you want to create a new JavaScript, and we're going to call this explosion system for C4. So explosion system C4. Double click, open in MonoDevelop. There we go. We don't need program strict, so get rid of that. Replace function start with update. Replace update with sec, short for seconds. And I'm going to define the variables we need. The first one's going to be var radius. It's going to be a type float. It's going to be equal to 5.0. And the next one's going to be var power. That's going to be the power of the bomb. It's going to be float. It's going to be equals to let's just say 300. And the damage, var damage, and it's going to be a type int, and it's going to be equals to 100 and closing semicolon. Alright, now that we've got the variables we need, go into update and call the second function. So we're going to say sec open bracket close bracket closing semicolon. This function itself is going to be used for the explosion force. What I mean by that is it's going to look for every object within the radius and apply force to them so they fly away. And let's do that next. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say yield wait for seconds open bracket closing semicolon. I'm going to make the C4 wait 4.9 seconds before it explodes, and then the force applies. So we're going to need two temporary variables. The first one's going to be called var explosion position. It's going to be a type vector3, and it's going to be equals to transform dot position. That's the C4's position. The next one's going to be var colliders. It's going to be a type collider. It's going to be array, so it stores the objects, and it's going to be equals to physics dot overlap there, like so. Open bracket. It's going to ask for the position first, and that's going to be explosion position, which we just made above. I don't know why MonoDevelop keeps doing this. It doesn't show the variables. It's really annoying. Alright, and let's continue, and then the radius. So it's gonna store all the objects that have a collider within the radius. Now let's start making the objects get affected by the force. So in order to do that, we're going to use the for loop. So I'm going to say for open bracket, open curly brace, and closing curly brace. Now I'm going to make a variable inside this. I'm going to call it var hit. It's going to be a type collider, and in colliders. Alright, inside this we're going to say if open bracket, open curly brace, closing curly brace. If we hit objects that have rigid bodies on them, we want to apply explosion force to them. So we're going to say hit dot rigid body dot add explosion force, open bracket, closing semicolon. The first one's going to ask for is the explosion force. So that's the power. And then the explosion position, which is the explosion position. And then the radius. And at the end, we're going to put 3.5. Is this one closing up? Nope, we have to put a closing semicolon, curly brace for this. Okay, now that we've done that, how do we tell the script to find out if we hit certain objects? Now what I mean by that is, how do we tell it to minus our health, the player's health? What we have to do is we're going to say if, open bracket, close bracket, open curly brace, closing curly brace, hit dot collider dot game object dot compare tag, open bracket, close bracket, two speech marks, player. If we hit the player, what shall we do? Well, we should just minus the health of the player, but that was in my old project and I haven't set that up. But for now, I'm just going to put a debug line. I'm just going to say debug dot log warning, open bracket, close bracket, and I'm just going to say you got hit. Alright, like so. And that covers the explosion part itself. Now we need to start working on the C4 bit. So save this script, go back into Unity, and there's a little error. Minus that one out. Yeah, that's fine, okay. Let's go back into Unity. Let it update. Alright, I'm going to now look for my C4 and then I'm going to apply that script to it. So I'm going to drag it out quickly, zoom right onto that, look for the script again, FPS script, there it is, and we'll call it explosion system C4, and there it is, it's applied. Save this. I'm just going to update my prefab again. Okay, let me just look for C4 and I'm going to drag this, which one is it, C4 bomb, back into C4 and delete it out of here. What is this? Delete, save. Okay, now let's go into our rayshoot script. And the first thing we want to do is we want to define the variables needed for the C4. Okay, the first variable we need is for explosion. Explosion C4. This is going to be the explosion for it. And it's going to be a type, game object. The next one's going to be for C4 sound. And it's going to be a type audio clip, like so. And the next one's going to be for C4 timer. It's going to be a type float. It's going to be equals to 0. The next one's going to be for C4 cooler, and it's going to be a type float. It's going to be equals to, I would say, let the player wait 1 second before they can place another C4. Okay, the next one's going to be for direction C4. This is going to be for the raycast, and it's going to be obviously a vector 3. The next one's going to be for C4 range. Okay, and it's going to be vector 3, oops, sorry, float equals 0.5. That's how far you gotta be away in order to place a C4. Alright, the next one we need is for C4, oops, C4 object. This is going to be the bomb itself, and it's going to type game object. The next one's going to be number of bombs, how many bombs we can have. So for number of bombs, number of C4s actually, bomb sounds kind of stupid, and it's going to be a type int, and the max we can have is 3.